Hello, happy and smart developers. Welcome to the coding board. This is series of internet and this is part 6. We have already learned that most users never see or care about internet address because internet address is in the form of IPv4 or IPv6 format, which we don't understand easily, and IP addresses are in binary format, and that binary format is represented in IPv4 or IPv6. IPv4 is 32-bit long, IPv4 is 128 bits long, so it's complicated for humans to remember and understand. A system called domain system solves this problem. A system called domain name system solves this problem by associating names like www.example.com with the corresponding IP addresses. What is domain name system that we will learn in this session? Computers communicates with each other using numbers called IP address. Computers communicates with each other using number called IP address. DNS stands for domain name system. The problem here is humans cannot remember those IP address. So we have domain name system to solve this problem. What domain name system will do? Domain name system is a system of computers that provides infrastructure which allows to browse the internet by making the internet a more human friendly place. How domain name system allows humans to browse the internet by making the internet a more human friendly place, that we need to understand. How domain name system allow us, nothing but humans, to browse the internet by making the internet a more human friendly place. Let's understand how. The answer is to allow us to browse the internet by making the internet more human friendly place. DNS maps domain names with IP addresses. DNS maps domain names with IP addresses, enabling humans to use memorable domain names, while computers on the internet can use IP addresses. So the answer is domain name system will map domain name with IP address. Now human do not need to remember IP address of the device. Now human need to remember name of the domain, okay, while computers on the internet can use their original IP addresses. The domain name system is the phone book. The domain name system is the phone book of the internet. We can compare domain name system with phone book, correct? So here domain name system is a phone book of the internet. Humans can access information online through domain names like nytimes.com or espn.com. Web browser interact through internet protocol addresses, IP addresses. DNS translates domain names to IP addresses so browsers can load internet resources. DNS servers eliminate the need for humans to memorize IP address such as 192.168.1.1 in IPv4 or more complex newer alphanumeric IP address such as 2400:CB00:1:C629:D7A2 in IPv6. Correct. IPv6 represents hexadecimal number format. IPv4 represents decimal number format. Now, the 8 steps in a DNS lookup. A user types example.com into browser and the query travels into the internet and is received by domain name system. Once user type some let's say facebook.com or google.com into web browser, then that query travels to the internet and received by DNS recursive resolver. DNS recursive resolver. Thus, resolver then queries a DNS root name server. The resolver then queries a DNS root name server. The root server then responds to the resolver with the address of a top level domain. Top level domain DNS server, such as like we have www.facebook.com. So .com is top level domain. So what DNS root name server will provide? It will provide address of top level domain, which stores the information for its domains, which stores the information for its domains. Okay, let me explain here what is happening in browser. The root server then responds to the resolver with the address of top level domain, which is TLD. Domain name server such as .com or .net is top level domain, which stores the information for its domains. When searching for example.com, our request is pointed towards the .com, which is top level domain. Now, the resolver then makes a request to the .com top level domain. The top level domain server then responds with the IP address of the domain's name server. The top level domain server then responds with the IP address of the domain's name server, that is example.com. Lastly, the recursive resolver sends a query to the domain's name server. The IP address for example.com is then returned to the resolver for the name server. Let me explain in a better manner. First, when we type example.com in browser, this request is received by DNS recursive resolver, domain name system recursive resolver. What domain name system recursive resolver will do? It will query to DNS root name server, domain name systems root name server. Root name server will provide IP address of top level domain, that is .com or .net. Here top level domain stores information for its domains. So when searching for example.com, our request is pointed towards the .com, and .com will provide the IP address of example domain, correct? The TLD server then responds with the IP address of the domain's name server, example.com. Lastly, recursive resolver sends the query to the domain's name server. So, recursive resolver, domain name system, recursive resolver have complete IP address. So now with that complete IP address, it will query to domain's name server. The IP address for example.com is then returned to the resolver for the name server. The DNS resolver then respond to the web browser with IP address of domain requested initially. Once the 8 steps of the domain name system lookup have returned, the IP address for example.com, the browser is able to make the request for the web page. The browser makes HTTP request to IP address. The browser makes a HTTP request to the IP address. The server at that IP returns the web page to be rendered in the browser. Note: the internet is huge and getting bigger every day, but the DNS and Internet Protocol are designed to scale no matter how much the internet grows. I hope you have understood how we can make use of names of domains, how we can enter names, simply names, www.facebook.com, and now it will be accepted by domain name system recursive resolver. Then recursive resolver will find its actual IP address, and then browser will send HTTP request to that particular IP address, and in return it will get web page. That's it in this session. Let's meet in another session. Thank you.